Welcome back to the Maxpert video series. My name is Dan Bennett. I'm a product manager with ServiceMax. I work on the schedule optimization engine from ServiceMax by GE Digital. We're here today to talk to you about how schedule optimization can help your field service business. We're going to start with a quick run through of the outline of what we're going to cover today. We're going to start by covering the benefits of optimization and some justification. Why should we bother? Then we'll move on to the input data that the engine ingests, how our schedule optimization actually functions, the process it goes through, and the outputs and outcomes that it's going to deliver for your business. We'll then go on to talk about how we prove success of the algorithm, and we'll wrap up with a few key takeaways. So we'll start with the benefits. The first is an increase in efficiency. The second is an improved experience for your customer. And the third is an improved experience for your workforce as well, both dispatchers and technicians. Next thing we're going to cover is a little bit of justification. Why do we bother with optimization for schedule and routing problems? In a nutshell, it's because they're incredibly hard to solve. They're hard for two reasons. The first of which is that the number of possible solutions is incredibly high. With just a single technician and 5 work orders, there are 120 possible routes throughout those work orders for that technician to take. When you increase to just 10 work orders for that technician, the number of possible routes skyrockets to about 3.6 million. And by the time you have 60 work orders, there are more routes possible than there are atoms in the visible universe. This is clearly a level of complexity that the human mind is not designed to deal with well or comprehend. Computers can do a much better job with it. The second reason that this problem is difficult is because each of those nearly innumerable solutions is not trivial to calculate the cost of. So what we mean there, a couple of examples to help, is that we're weighing various factors and decisions throughout this process of deciding how good a solution is for the business. A couple of examples might be, for instance, is it a better idea to miss an SLA by an hour this afternoon, or have a technician drive an extra hour because we shuffled the route in the morning to get them there on time? Another situation might be if you have a strategic customer that has a critical piece of equipment go down and needs troubleshooting, but your most qualified technician is already fully booked that day. Is it worthwhile to have them miss a fully confirmed appointment to do this high priority work or not? Now that we've covered the benefits and justification for optimization, let's talk a little bit about how ServiceMax schedule optimization can help you solve even the toughest scheduling problem. We'll start with the input data that the engine requires to do its work. At a high level, that's the work orders, which represent the work that needs to be done, the technicians, which represent the resources available to do that work, events, which represent one-off unavailability on those technicians' calendars that the optimizer needs to work around, things like days off, internal meetings, etc., and your business goals, which we'll go through in a little more detail later. The work orders have a lot of different constraints and variables associated with them. A few of the key ones we'll talk about today are the skills required to do the work, any certifications that might be required to get onto the job site, the time or access hours for the machine, and maybe SLAs or promises to the customer. Regarding the technicians, there are corresponding capabilities and capacity to meet the demands of those work orders. Those include the skills or expertise that the technicians have, the hours that they're available to do work, the certifications that they have, etc. Now that we've finished talking about the inputs that the engine ingests, let's talk about how it actually operates on those inputs to generate an optimized schedule. The first thing to know is that the engine is outcomes based. This ties back to the business goals from the inputs. Essentially, you get to configure which outcomes are most important to your business using relative visual sliders in the user interface. These sliders help you measure things like SLA adherence, how important is that to the business? Reducing travel costs and travel distance, minimizing or controlling for overtime, balancing your drive time equally among technicians, and last but not least, making sure that a fully qualified technician is assigned to each work order. The next thing to know is that we use what's called an evolutionary or genetic algorithm to process all this data. The way that it works is that it assesses the cost of hundreds of complete solutions to your entire optimization problem in each generation. And the cost of each of these solutions is determined in large part by the outcomes that you determined with the sliders we just discussed. Only the lowest cost or most elite solutions are passed on to the next generation, where we use advanced genetic techniques like recombination and mutation to approximate the semi-randomized nature of natural selection in the real world. Through this process of continuously passing on only the best solutions to the next generation, semi-randomizing the rest of the generation, what we're able to do is the algorithm will just continuously hammer away at your scheduling problem from all angles, reducing the cost over time, resulting in a highly optimized solution tailored to your business outcomes. The last thing to know is that it's operating in real time, continuously. What this means is, as information changes from the various avenues of the business, whether that's dispatchers working on the dispatch console, or if your customers are allowed to log work orders through the customer portal, or even if you have high certainty IoT alerts generating work, these can all be passed directly into the engine in real time, where they're continuously passed through that genetic algorithm that we talked about and optimized more and more to the needs of the business. Now that we've covered how the optimization algorithm works, we're going to talk a little bit about the outputs and outcomes that it generates for the business. First, you're going to get an operational schedule of work that's assigned to qualified technicians with minimal white space at times that make sense for your customers. Some of the benefits you're going to see are in efficiency around lowering the cost through lower drive time, better control of your overtime, as well as better utilization of your technicians. Some of the customer experience improvements that you might notice would be around first-time fix rate, which will have to do with assigning the most qualified technician to each work order, as well as better SLA adherence and appointment offer adherence based on focusing on those outcomes in the optimization as well. The last thing we're going to talk about are metrics and reporting that help you prove how much improvement you're getting from the optimization engine. Some of the key reports that we deliver center around average drive time, SLA adherence, constraint violation, and technician utilization. Thanks for joining me today to learn more about real-time schedule optimization by ServiceMax from GE Digital. We appreciate you taking the time and hope you found the content valuable. Please take a look at our website for new videos in the Maxpert series coming soon.